The K right to the side sex, leave the fire and the roof stars stuff on the grind like we're chasing the stars. From Millmore to Du Valley, we've come so far. Talk about legends, yeah, we know the score. Ronnie and Bobby, we remember you more. From the highs of the Wembley fight to losing our trousers, still we ignite. Red and white with the pride, we're never gonna bow. Fighting like middlemen, hear the roar now. We're middlemen, we stand up tall. Through ups and downs, we give it all. From Millmore to Du Valley.
Good evening and welcome to Terrace Talk. I'm your host, King Bush, and tonight we have got Meet the Miller with David Besley, who's been a miller for 34 years. How you doing, Bez?
I'm good, thanks. Thanks for having me on this. I've watched, obviously, a couple of old lads, and it looks quite fun doing this. So, yeah, can't wait to get stuck in.
Good man, good man. So, we'll start with, obviously, where you're from and how long you've been supporting Rotherham United. Obviously, we've put 34 years. So, how did you start supporting Rotherham?
Yeah, so obviously David, or Bez as people call me, my nickname Bez. Born and bred in Rotherham, so born in Rotherham Hospital. My daddy was from Wickersley, my mum was from Northampton, so I've kind of been brought up in Northampton, which thankfully is, I suppose, is classed as the borough of Rotherham. So yeah, you could say that I've lived in Rotherham all my life, and it hasn't really changed. So how I did put that I did say that I'd supported Rotherham for 34 years. That's probably when I started going to the games, to be fair. I started going when I was 7, so that was like 34 years ago. I probably started following them a couple of years before that, when my dad was getting me into it. Obviously, you don't really get into it until you start going.
So what's the sort of first game that you can remember going to watching Rotherham?
So the first game I remember was in the 91-92 season, and it was an evening game at Millmore, obviously, and it was Rotherham v Cardiff City. It was Rotherham 1, Cardiff City 2. Now that season, we actually went on to in promotion. It was the one where Tony Cunningham was like the top goal scorer. Yeah, and last game at season we played Chesterfield, and I remember we drew 1-1, and their striker had to go in net because the keeper had been sent off. It was that game. But yeah, we lost 2-1 to Cardiff. I can remember it being cold because it was around October, November time. And the only other memory I have of it is Rotherham, when they were attacking to the right-hand side, so I look at the pitch, they had 2 shots that hit the side netting, and I thought that both shots had gone in because it hit the side netting twice. So I thought the game was actually 3-2 until my dad told me, no, it's 2-1, son. So that's my only real memory of my first game, if you like. I've got memories of like games throughout that season, but they're all kind of merged into one, I'd say.
So who got you into following Rotherham? Was it your dad or...?
Yeah. So it was definitely my dad. Again, similar to you, actually. Like, yes, I was in a school that was in Rotherham, which is Dinnington. I went to Dinnington Comp. If you look at the fan base, most of them were Wednesday and United. I was probably one of maybe 4 or 5 Rotherham fans in the whole school. It was my dad. My dad's dad, who were from Wickersley, he took my dad to games, and my dad took me to games. So it was, I had no choice really. It was just a case of, we're going to watch Rotherham, and you're coming with me. We always sat in the main stand as well. Like, that's one thing, because obviously I asked you the question last week about sitting at the side or behind the goal. I've always been at the side, always in the main stand.
Yeah. So when I was younger, I used to go on the Tivoli with my dad.
All right.
But as I got older, I just preferred the view from the side.
Yeah.
I just can't watch it from behind the goal anymore. It does me head in.
Well, it's strange. I think I went in the Tivoli maybe 2 or 3 times in my whole life because,
really?
because we had a seat ticket in the main stand, and I'd only go into Tivoli like if it were an FA Cup game. So I only go like literally twice.
Yeah, we had season tickets for the Tivoli, so we always was on the Tivoli. Literally, just about 6 or 7 rows back from where to the right of the goal.
Yeah. Okay.
So, what does being a Rotherham fan mean to you, Bez?
Well, it means everything because I'm someone who I guess, and a lot of people say this, don't they? But I'm someone where football and particularly Rotherham United has been my life, really. I've given up quite a lot for Rotherham. Like I remember when I had kind of finished university, I was working part-time at the time and I was looking for a full-time job. You know, it was time to get a full-time job at early 20s. And I'd go into a job interview and if they said, oh, you have to do one Saturday in every 6 weeks, I'd say, no, I can't do that. So I turned the job down. So I gave up a lot of, work and relationships as well. I had one of my ex-girlfriends, I kind of kept fobbing her off and going to Rotherham away games, and I think she got fed up with it in the end, and so we ended up breaking up. So yeah, it means the world to me, and I would say I've basically given up my entire life for Rotherham. I went to uni, but I was someone who went to Sheffield Hallam, and I decided that I decided not to stay like in the campus or the halls, because I couldn't afford to do both. I couldn't afford to go to Rotherham games and stay in halls. So I had to choose one, and I chose Rotherham and went to every Rotherham game.
What a legend. What a legend. Yeah. So if there was no Rotherham United, who would you support and why?
Wow. So if Rotherham, I guess it's a two-part question. If Rotherham went bust when they did, so I had supported Rotherham, I don't think I'd be able to follow anyone else. However, if like Rotherham never existed, and I was a young lad, I actually think it'd be Sheffield United because, like, even though our schools, like you had a lot of Wednesday fans, United fans, whatever, my group of mates, if you like, were more Sheffield United fans. I mean, one of my best friends is a Wednesday fan, to be fair to him, but the group of friends I had like in infants and junior school were Sheffield United fans. And I actually went to, when I was in one of them, infants or junior school, I did actually go to a Sheffield United game. So I just remember sitting in the cop at Bramwell Lane just for this one game because our mate were going. So it would have been Sheffield United, I think, because of that.
So obviously we're going to match days and memories now. So would you prefer a home or an away day, and why would you prefer the choice that you make?
Yeah, so I've always preferred an away day. Always, it's obviously not as fun now as the older you get. But if you go back like 20 years, I used to love. I mean, I'm not someone who's good at getting up in the morning. I'm just not a morning person, but I'd be up if we were playing Plymouth away. I'd be up as early as can be.
Yeah, I was the same.
Yeah.
At work, I'd be like struggling to get up, but when it was Rotherham away with my dad and that, I'd just be like, my alarm would be set and I'd be like buzzing to go.
Yeah, same as me. Yeah, it would just. I think as well because obviously when you go to home games, it does become more of like a habit, and you're doing the same things for each home game. Whereas an away game, every away game is different because you go into a different part of the UK. So yeah, I'd always say away game, and we've had some cracking away days. I mean, my favourite away day was probably, and this is a strange one, against Aldershot in the playoff semi-final.
Oh yeah,
just because we'd just lost Aldershot 3-0 about a month earlier, and every fan going down there, we weren't expecting anything at all. We thought, we'll get beat again. We're not going to go to Wembley. We're not going to go up. And obviously we won, didn't we, at last minute with Le Fondre. And honestly, greatest day of my life, I think that. We got there for about 12 o'clock. The game didn't start till 5:30, so we had quite a lot to drink as well. So yeah, that was probably my favourite away day. That one.
What's your match day routine, or do you have any superstitions? Have you got a routine? What you do on a match day?
Yeah, so no superstitions. All never really been a fan of superstition or anything like that. Match day routine, again, something you can't do now. I used to love getting up and watching Soccer AM when the show was actually good. So I'd always start with waking up, watching Soccer AM. Me and my dad would generally just go for a drink or two, or it depends what age I was, obviously, but if I was young, too young, he'd have 1 or 2 pints. I'd have Coke or whatever. If I were older, I'd probably have 1 or 2 pints. It's changed now because we tend to get to pub for like 12 o'clock now. Whereas before, when I was with my dad, we'd get there 2 o'clock, have a pint or 2. We'd get into the ground. Once the game's finished, we'd just go home, have something to eat for tea. And that'd be pretty much it. It was very bog standard. Whereas now, we tend to get to the pub for 12 o'clock now. I'll have anything from, 7 to 10 pints, included after the game as well. And then I'll go home later. So we'll go to the pub after the game as well. I'll go home at like 6:30, 7 o'clock. And again, have something to eat at home. And that'll be it, really. So I've kind of got 2 different days, if you like. One when I was younger, and one now.
Yeah. You answered the next question. So, favourite ever away, Dave? So you obviously said the Aldershot game for that. But what's the best ground you've ever visited supporting the Millers?
The best ground?
Yeah.
Best football ground. I've actually always liked Sunderland's ground, actually. The issue with Sunderland's ground, though, is that you're always up in the gods. And the view's not great. But as a football ground, I've always liked Sunderland's. If I was going to go for like a better view, let's see, I'd probably say, I would say I'd say MK Dons. I think MK Dons, it's a shame that they obviously have a 30,000 all-seater stadium and they only sell, 8,000 or 9,000 tickets, because I think that's a great football ground. I wish it had a bit more colour to it. It's obviously a lot of it's black and white, but the fact that it's one of the only grounds where, they might not let you do it now, but you used to be able to watch the game on the concourse having a pint. I think they've stopped that now, to be fair, but you used to be able to do that, you see. So yeah, I'd say MK Dons probably.
And what's the funniest or strangest thing you've ever seen at a game?
Funniest or strangest thing? I wouldn't say it's anything in particular, really. Are you on about like from a match point of view, or just something that's happened?
Yeah, something that's happened in the game. One that springs to mind for me, what I always laugh about, is when we had the downpour against Cardiff and it got called off, and then Cardiff fans were crying for the next year about it. It was just a strange downpour, and it just like turned into a river, the stadium. Yeah.
I thought you would say that one, to be fair. But you could also say the Ipswich as well, because that was similar, if you remember. So we were due to play on a Friday night, weren't we? And it was chucking it down. And I managed just to get to the pub for the Friday night game. And 10 minutes later, it got postponed or abandoned. I've just thought of one, though, actually. I have just thought of one. So you'll like this. So Rotherham playing Torquay away. Okay. We set off. I was driving, right? We set off like 6 o'clock in the morning or whatever time it were, right? Weather was fine, no issues. As we got onto M5, it started to snow, okay? As we were about, probably still 100 miles away from Torquay, game got postponed. So we'd driven probably 2 hours or 2.5 hours, game was postponed. We started setting back off, got stuck in snow, didn't get home until about 11:30 at night. So we did stop off for a drink, only for about an hour. But yeah, apart from that, we're in the car for literally 10, 12 hours straight. We set off at 6 in the morning, didn't get home until 11:30. I'd also had as well about 10 cans of Red Bull, and I was proper buzzing, and I think I didn't feel great when I got home after the 10 cans of Red Bull, to be honest with you. So I'll say that one.
Jesus. So on to players and performances. What's your favourite Rotherham player of all time and why?
Well, there's been a few. I'm going to go with the who I think's the best Rotherham player I've seen in my lifetime, and that's Alan Lee. He, Alan Lee could literally do it all. He would, I can remember playing Wolves away, for example, and it was literally we were playing a 5-4 or 4-5, and just Alan Lee up front by himself. And I remember a ball got played long, and Alan Lee shrugged off like 3 defenders, ran with it, and smashed into the bottom corner. And there's only Alan Lee who I know could do that in a Rotherham shirt. I was going to say, and I might have told you this as well, it was between him and Hoskins, because Will Hoskins, for me, had the most natural ability, and also the fact that Hoskins has come through our own youth academy helps as well. But yeah, I want to stick with Alan Lee.
Alan Lee.
Yeah.
So who's your current favourite player? So at the team at the minute, who would you say your favourite player is that's playing for the Rotherham United at the minute?
Well, if we're allowed a lone player, I'd have Dan Gore. Is that against the rules?
No, it's against the rules for your favourite ever 11, but it's not against the rules for this one.
So yeah, I'll go Dan Gore. Again, I just think that it's more to do with Dan Gore. I know it gets said a lot, but I genuinely believe he's at least one of the best midfielders in the division, if not the best. So I would say Dan Gore. He's very classy. I like the fact that even though he's quite small, he gets stuck in. Obviously, he's on loan from a really big club in Man United. These youngsters who come through Man United Academy, they're not idiots. They're not. They generally get a good upbringing at Man United. So I'd have to go Dan Gore just at the moment. Anyway, if I had to go Rotherham player, I'd have to say Hugo. Obviously, everyone knows my love for Hugo. So if you're not allowed Dan Gore, I'd have Jordan Hugo.
I'll let you have Dan Gore. On to the next one. Who is the most underrated player you've seen in a Miller's shirt? So a player that you think you actually rated, but the fans didn't quite rate. You could probably put Hugo into that one, I guess.
You could do, yeah, you could do. I'd say that Hugo, he did have a good. I still say now he had a good 8 months when he first started. Anyway, like I thought he was unplayable. There's one that has come to mind actually, and I'm only saying this because my mate didn't really like him. I always liked Lee Williamson. I always thought Lee Williamson didn't. Like he didn't really. I know we sold him to like a bigger club, didn't we, at the time? But
yeah,
I feel like
the Premiership. I nearly put him in my best ever 11.
Yeah.
That's
so
it's
whether or not you think he got the credit he deserved. Like I don't think he did. I mean, the one that you said was a great shout, Kevin Watson. I just felt with Kevin Watson though in League One, he did get a lot of credit. It was when they were in Championship where he didn't seem to get the credit. And obviously we then sold him, didn't we, as well? So I'll go for Lee Williamson. I'm going to go for Lee Williamson.
And which player did you think gave everything for the badge?
Someone who put 110% in. Again, we've had quite a lot. You tend to find, don't you, that defenders or defensive midfielders, they're the ones who tend to give everything the badge. I'm actually I'm gonna say Lee Frecklington because Lee Frecklington was that player who was all over the pitch, box to box. He'd pick a ball up if we were defending. He'd pick a ball up on the edge of our own box. 2 seconds later, he'll be on the end of their own box having a shot from within the 18-yard box. So, yeah, Lee Frecklington for me, I just thought his work rate were exceptional. And obviously, we all know his quality. He could do everything. He'd get you 10 goals a season. A midfielder who gets you 10 goals a season is always good to have. So, yeah, I'm going Frecklington.
Which brings me on nicely to, if you could bring one former Miller back into the current squad, who would it be and why?
Well, is this someone who's playing now or anyone from the past?
Yeah, former player. You get to sign one player to add him into this squad. So, You think of your weakest position in the squad we've got now,
Yeah.
and pick your best player from the past.
Yeah.
Who would it be? Who would you bring back?
It's easy in terms of what position, because we've all just been on the Miller's Monday podcast, and we've all said that one of the new signs we need is a striker. So it's going to be a striker. Now, naturally, I would tick Alan Lee, because I've just said I think he's Rotherham's best player in my lifetime. However, Alan Lee was more of a target man.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He wouldn't fit into this side, I don't think.
Yeah, exactly.
We don't give him the service.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I suppose that's true. I know that Alan Lee was someone who didn't really need the service, I don't think. He was someone who would do everything by himself. You see, I wanted to say Hoskins, but again, you're right. Hoskins would rely on players creating chances for him.
Well, Hoskins were in a poor side, when he was with us. And we sold him.
He was, yeah. Okay.
He still scored loads of goals, didn't he, Hoskins?
You answered the question. I'm going to go Hoskins then. You're right, he was. Yeah. He still scored. Because the thing with Hoskins is his all-round goal scoring was unique. He didn't just score tap-ins. He didn't just score through balls. He could shoot from 20 yards. He once scored like a half volley at Port Vale, from about 25 yards out on the corner. So he had a whole range of goals. So, yeah, I'll go with Hoskins. Then.
Hoskins. So what's the best ever Rotherham goal you've seen live?
Goal? Okay.
Goal.
I reckon everyone's forgotten this, right? Gary Roberts at Bradford City. He scored from the halfway line, yeah. I don't know if you remember it yourself.
Yeah, he was a good player, he was as well, but
he had issues. He's had issues, yeah. I mean, I don't know if you've heard that story. Do you know Gary Roberts has appeared on that Under the Kosh podcast a few times, and one of the stories that's on there is outrageous, to be honest with you. But yeah, he scored a goal from about 60 yards out at Bradford, so I'd say that's probably the best one.
Super. So, who is the hardest or toughest player we've ever had?
Toughest
player. This one is easy for me, but wow.
Okay. Well, I was going to say it's between there's three I can think of. I'm going to go. So I'll say the first one who I was thinking of, but it's not him. One was Stuart Talbot. I'm not going to pick him though, because I remember in the end, I think he ended up being quite injury prone. So I'm not going to say him. I'm going to say Guy Branston. Yeah, he was between Guy Branston and Chris Swales.
I remember going a Hull away and he getting sent off. And
exactly.
Is
that who you were going to say then yourself?
Yeah. I would have said Guy Branston. Yeah, definitely.
So Guy Branston again, for obvious reasons. To be fair, he looked like a bodyguard, didn't he?
Yeah,
Branston. Yeah.
I remember him going after that McLean and nearly splattering him at Millmore over.
Yeah.
I can remember that. Yeah. Which player never lived up to the hype? So a player we signed and you thought, what a signing, and then they just went to be a dud.
Yeah, I think they've had a few of them, to be honest with you. I'm trying to think of the loans that we had. Do you know what what I'm going to think of? Mark Randall. So Mark Randall was so he was at Arsenal. I remember when we signed him on loan, I couldn't believe we'd got him in League Two. And I can remember I messaged loads of my mates and I said, Mark Randall, ... what a signing this is. And yeah, he had a couple of good games. He scored that 25-yard screamer against Port Vale, I think it was, in a 5-0 win. But yeah, he really disappointed me.
Yeah, there was a couple that spring to mind for me. We had that guy that played for Leeds. Was it Brolin? Did he come on loan for?
Who? Sorry.
Who was it that we got? A midfielder, I think he was from Leeds. Was it Brolin we got on loan? There was him and Jody Morris. Remember Jody Morris?
Well, you say that. you say that, right? Jody Morris. Jody Morris would have been, if we were allowed loan plays, he'd have been in our midfield. When he came to Rotherham, he kept us up that year, Jody Morris.
I'll tell you another good loan player that nearly made my team, but obviously weren't here long enough. Stephen Quinn.
Agreed, yeah.
He was quality that season when we got him.
There's no one as well. I like this player, but my mate absolutely adored him. And my mate thinks this is the best midfielder we've ever had. Carl Robinson, he liked.
Oh, yeah, quality player. Quality. Totally agree. So we're going to go on to your best 11 now, Bez. So, who's your goalkeeper and why have you picked him?
So I have obviously cheated on some of these, as you'll see as we get to him. So my goalkeeper is the only one, Billy Mercer. Now the reason I picked Billy Mercer is because he was the first goalkeeper I actually remember as I was growing up for Rotherham. He was in the 93, 94, 95 kind of era. And I just loved him. I've got a photo. I've got a photo when I was mascot, and it was with Billy Mercer. He was a good shot stopper. He came for crosses. I remember he also got against Blackpool, I think it was. He got a stud in his kind of eye as well, and he had to go off. And we played someone else in the net, an outfield player, and we ended up beating Blackpool 3-2. I remember that as well. So yeah, I just loved him, Billy Mercer, my hero growing up.
Yeah, great goalkeeper, great choice.
It was close actually because I was tempted Matt Clark, but he didn't. He obviously had a better career, Matt Clark, than Billy Mercer, but he didn't really play a lot for Rotherham in the end, I don't think. So
no,
it wasn't.
Matt Clark was quality, but he went to Sheffield Wednesday, so
yeah, that's a scar on him. Yeah.
Scarred him. Onto your fullback, you've gone for the same as one of mine, so we'll start with this guy and why.
Yeah. To be fair, our right back, there weren't a lot of options. Obviously, the one I've gone for is Ali Pickering. It's quite straightforward. This guy was at Rotherham. He left Rotherham to join a Premier League club, and he played quite a lot of times for that Premier League club, so he must have been good. I don't remember him too fondly because, again, it was part of that era when I was growing up. So I'd have been 9, 10, 11 years old. But I couldn't, to be honest with you, I couldn't really think of anyone else where, we've never really had a mainstay right back, have we? To be honest. Yeah. Would I have picked Tavernier if we allowed him? Probably not. I probably would have still stuck with Ali Pickering, to be honest.
Yeah, I'd have still stuck with Ali Pickering. So most people for this position have gone Paul Hurst. You've gone different. Tell me who you've gone with.
So I have gone for a player who was in the same squad as Paul Hurst. I've gone for Scott Minto. And it's quite straightforward, actually. Scott Minto, by the way, loves Rotherham still. When he used to be commentator or he used to run the EFL games on Sky, he's always wanting Rotherham to win, so I do like that. We signed him on a free transfer, and I remember where we were playing a game, quite we were against, it was 0-0, and a lad behind me shouted something like, we need some quality in this side, and Scott Minto came on at left back, and he won us a bit of a dodgy penalty. What he did is he got in front of his man in the box and almost went down. Probably not a penalty, but the referee fell for it and it won his game 1-0. I remember the lad behind me shouting, that's why Scott Minto should be our number one left back. And that's always stuck with me. And that's why, because Paul Hurst is obviously a Rotherham legend. He was never a good championship player. He was probably a League One player, whereas Scott Minto was a championship quality player, in my opinion.
Well, he played in the Premier League. Chelsea. I
know he did. I remember that when he played for Rotherham, because he was at the end of his career, weren't he, for Rotherham? If someone said to me, where would you put Paul Hurst in terms of, for Rotherham, what was his best, year? You'd have to say a League One season or a League Two campaign, whereas Scott Minto, he only played in Championship for Rotherham. So, yeah, I felt he was better than Paul Hurst.
So onto your centre-backs, there's not many surprises here. So I think start with the first one.
Yeah, so Martin McIntosh, again, the main reason for McIntosh, everyone knows he was a good defender, great tackler, dominant in the air. He was left-footed, so he complemented his partner at the time by playing on the left-hand side. His best ability for me was his 60-yard raking long ball passes to the far side. So you got Cedric on that right wing. He could play a 60-yard diagonal pass straight onto Chris Sedgwick's foot, and Rotherham are already attacking down that wing. That's what I like most about him. It's very rare we've had a ball playing centre half at Rotherham. He's one, and someone obviously I've got later on in the 11 is another one as well. The other centre half, Chris Wales. Again, not only what I liked about Chris Wales is more the fact that he scored goals from centre half. Again, I can only think of two centre halves where we'd get a corner, and I'd almost think we're going to score every corner. Chris Wales was one, and the other one was actually Ryan Cresswell. He used to score a lot from corners as well. Not only was Wales a great defender, no nonsense, scored goals. He was the perfect partnership for Martin McIntosh. The only thing that annoyed me about Chris Wales is why the hell did he wear the number 8 shirt? That did annoy me.
So onto the right wing, who did you go for your winger?
Well, I've gone for everyone's obvious Chris Sedgwick. Now, I've cheated here because I've technically picked two right wingers at either wing. And there's a reason for that. So I'll come to the other one when we get onto him. Chris Sedgwick is probably deemed one of, if not Rotherham's best ever youth academy prospects. I think you've said that. He took Rotherham from League 2 all the way up to the Championship. I remember he had a bad injury at Rotherham a couple of times and he always came back stronger. And then when he left Rotherham, he stayed in the Championship all his career. Not only a mid-table side, a side who were always constantly fighting for the playoffs and trying to get promoted. So, I think he was an obvious one. I loved his drive. He weren't the quickest of players. He could beat a man, get a crossing. I also loved his goal against West Brom. He used to score this type of goal a lot, where he'd almost go inside, beat his man, back on the outside, and he smashed a shot into the far corner. He scored against West Brom, Forest, I think, as well. I loved that sort of goal. Loved it.
On to the left wing. Who have you gone with on the left wing?
This is the dubious one. I've gone for someone who's more a right winger, and that's Chidozie Ogbene. Now, it's weird. The reason I picked Ogbene is because he has to be in this side, because I think that Ogbene is probably Rotherham's second best ever player behind Alan Lee. I think that I do, yeah. I think that Ogbene, obviously, I think Ogbene was the reason we stocked up under Matt Taylor that season. Like, we had two really good players in that squad in terms of Ogbene being one and Barlaser being the other one. And we sold Barlaser in January and we still managed to stop up comfortably. I think if we'd have sold Ogbene and kept Barlaser instead, I think we could have gone down. That's how important he was for me. Again, like Sedgwick, he also overcame a really bad injury at Rotherham and he came back stronger. Yeah, I couldn't go a squad without picking Ogbene. But then again, you've got to pick Sedgwick. If Sedgwick could get on the left-hand side, he can pick left winger. But those two have got to be our two wingers. They've just got to be.
Fair play, fair play. And then you've got two in the midfield. So who have you gone for in midfield?
We'll start with everyone's favourite, everyone I think's picked, and that's Lee Frecklington. Obviously, I've already mentioned him before. He could do everything, this lad. He'd guarantee you 10 goals a season, if not more. Box to box, energetic. The best thing about him is he always picked up second balls, and I think that's why he was so good. He just knew what area the ball was going to drop, and he would pick that ball up.
He had so much quality as well, didn't he?
You what, sorry?
When he picked the ball up, you knew something was going to happen.
Yeah. Well, he wasn't the sort of player who could pass a 50-yard ball to the fullback or the winger or whatever.
He reminded me of, obviously not as good because he didn't get to them levels, but a Frank Lampard.
Agreed. Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, I agree. Like, he's not someone who's going to beat 3 men and score. He's not someone who can play 50-yard pass.
He'd always be in the right place, pick it up, and
yeah,
you knew what was going to happen when he got on the ball.
Yeah, he also scored some important goals for Rotherham as well. The Aldershot one, for example, when they were winning 1-0 and they were hanging on a little bit. He scored in the playoff semi-final against Preston North End. Yeah, I think he scored as well in the game against Reading when we secured our survival of the championship as well under Steve Evans. So you're always involved in important goals. Was Frecklington? I'd be disappointed if anyone who does this doesn't pick Frecklington, to be honest. And then the other one,
on to your next one.
Yeah. I've cheated here a little bit. That again, similar to Bennett, I had to get this man in the side, and that's Carrie Arneson. Now, to be fair to me, he did play in midfield a lot for Rotherham. Yes, the majority of the time he was. You're sorry?
I think he was better in defence.
Probably was, but I had to get him in, and I couldn't take Swales or McIntosh out. And to be honest with you, I couldn't really think of another midfielder who I felt were better than Arneson, because again, he could tackle, he was composed, that was his best ability, the fact he was composed, he could pass the ball. He also scored some important goals as well. I remember Millwall at home were drawing the game 0-0 or 1-1, and he scored a header from a corner which won his game. So, this kid is also the most capped player for a Rotherham player as well. So he has to be. He marked Messi out of a game. He's marked Ronaldo out of a game. CR7. He just has to be in this side. And as I said, I couldn't really think of another midfielder. Maybe Barlasser could have got in there. That was potentially one. But I'd take Arneson over any of these players now.
On to your front two. There's going to be no surprises here because one of them you've picked as your greatest ever player. So we'll start with Alan Lee.
Yeah, so Alan Lee, again, I'm not going into too much detail. I've already mentioned how good he is. And as you said, I've already said I think he's Rotherham's best ever player in my lifetime. Obviously, I wasn't born in the 70s or the 80s, so I couldn't tell you about that. But in my lifetime, Alan Lee's the best Rotherham player. And then the other one
is the player that's first into this one since we've been doing it. You're the first one to select this guy, so why have you gone with him? So
again, as I've already said, I think he had the best natural finisher I've ever seen is Hoskins, better than Lafondra as well. Lafondra, because I felt that Lafondra was more a bit like Frecklington. He would know what position to be, and therefore he could score easy goals. Now, I know Lafondra did also score some good goals as well, like overhead kicks. He scored one where he beat a man and smashed into the roof at net and what have you. I know that. But the rate, if you looked at it, because there's a video on YouTube where it shows all of Lafondra's goals for Rotherham, and there's also a video that shows all of Hoskins' goals, right? I urge you, when you've got time, to go and watch them both. They're only 5 minutes long, each of them, and you'll see Hoskins got a more variety of goals than Lafondra has. And that's the reason why I picked him over someone like Lafondra. And also, he came through our youth academy as well, so he gets extra points for that.
Fair play. And you've also gone for a first in the manager department as well. This was a bit of a shock to me, Bez, to be fair. I didn't expect this guy to pop up. So tell me who you've gone with and why.
So I'll be honest, when I wrote this out to send to you, I did have Ronnie Moore written in. Right. What I did is I went to Wikipedia to have a look at all of Rotherham's managers in my lifetime, and I had a look at how many games I've managed and what have you. Right. This manager has got the highest win rate of any Rotherham manager. He's got the highest win rate, and it's Mark Robbins. Okay. Now, what else surprises me about Mark Robbins is, and I don't think you'll realise this, is one of the things that put me off Robbins was I only think he was at the club for a year and a half, or maybe 2 years.
And he went to Barnsley.
Exactly. According to Wikipedia, he managed 129 times for Rotherham, which I was surprised at. You know, there's only three managers in my lifetime who have managed more. Obviously, Ronnie, Steve Evans, and I think Paul Warne is close to him. So, yeah, I've loved Robbins, and look at what he's doing now. He's going to take Stoke City up to the Premier League.
Yeah, so, I mean, we have a Coventry fan on our Sunday night show, and he says that he's the best manager Coventry have ever had.
I watched it.
When he left there, yeah. So,
and that's why, look, is there some salt in the wound? Yes, he did leave Barnsley, and the way he left wasn't great. But look, at the time Barnsley were in the Championship, we were in League Two. You'd be stupid not to leave, I felt. So, yeah, I loved him as manager. He was a manager where you'd go into games and I know that Robbins would out-tactic the other manager, whereas we don't seem to get that with, let's say, our current manager, unfortunately. I'd do anything to want Robbins back. I'd want Robbins back over any other manager, and that includes Evans and Ronnie in their prime.
Wow. So who would you've got quite a few captains in here, because obviously McIntosh has been a captain, Arneson had been a captain, I think Mercer had been a captain at one time. Who would captain this team?
Well, I actually, when you asked for a captain, I didn't pick the captain of my team. Now, the 11 that I picked, my captain in that team would be McIntosh. McIntosh still. I prefer it to be a centre half, and I just felt that McIntosh was kind of a more natural leader. And as you can see in that photo, he was obviously captain for Rotherham as well. If I were to take my overall best captain that I've seen in my lifetime, it was Stuart Talbot. I don't know why. I just felt that Stuart Talbot had he had the ability to fire players up more. I don't know why. I just think that. Whereas McIntosh wasn't necessarily that sort of captain.
So we've gone on to the best manager. Who's the worst manager you've ever seen in your lifetime as Rotherham?
Yeah. Obviously, there are a few options, but I did end up on Alan Stubbs. Again, I checked Wikipedia, and Alan Stubbs had the lowest, or one of the lowest win rates as manager of Rotherham United. Obviously, I could have said Danny Vergara, which is what you said. I didn't really. The Danny Vergara era, again, I was slightly a little bit young to understand fully what were happening. Obviously, I remember we lost like 7-0 to Wrexham in that era, which weren't great. But yeah, I felt that Alan Stubbs took over a team who were comfortably a Championship side. They just stopped up when the Warnock about 9 points clear. They had the players to mount like a mid-table finish, and obviously he kind of ruined that. So a lot of the work that Evans put into it, and then Warnock, I felt he destroyed, and he set us back like a year or two. Now, I know we got promoted from League One straight away, but we also went down. And I think the reason we weren't able to stabilise in the Championship was because of what Alan Stubbs did. The chairman trusted him with some money as well, and we've not really spent money since. I know we have this year a little bit, but that's the last time we actually spent a little bit of money. I can remember buying like Wolvorks and what have you. So, yeah. To me, he ruined Rotherham for the next 2 or 3 years.
Fair play, fair play. So on to the next question, Bez. And what is the best ever moment supporting the club?
Best ever moment. Obviously, there's a lot of finals in there. I'm gonna have to go with the Leyton Orient final. Not only did Rotherham win the game, they were 2-0 down. Not only were they 2-0 down and came back, I was at half time, I was walking like underneath the stands at Wembley. I was just walking around because we were all gutted work because we thought that was game over. And a lady on the kind of, in-house tannoy, which you could hear under the stand. She came and she said she was doing like a betting promoting thing, and she said no one would ever come back from 2-0 down to win a game in a playoff final. So what did I do? I put quite a lot of money on Rotherham winning the tie, and they did. So not only did Rotherham win and get promoted, I won some money as well.
Did you win, mate?
I can't exactly. I want to say I put like 50 or 100 quid on, and they would have been. They can't have been 100. I think I put 50 on, and there was something like no, tell a lie. There were 10 to 1, I think, and I put 20 quid on. Is that right? Or was that 200 quid? Yeah. So yeah, there were about 10 to 1. I put 20 quid on, and I got back about 200 quid. Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
What's the worst moment supporting the club?
Although it ended up okay, the worst moment for me was when we got docked the points, because I think I know 3 teams got docked points in that league, and because 3 teams got docked, there were still a good chance that you'd stuff up. But that's the closest we've ever been to potentially going into the National League. So I'd say that, because I can remember, I think we got our points deducted before the other 2. So for the first few weeks, everyone else were on 0 and we were on -20 or whatever it was, 17. So I was really concerned that we're going to go into the conference and we're not going to come back. We've seen big clubs or decent-sized clubs go into a conference and they can't get back. Scunthorpe, for example, Chesterfield couldn't get back for ages. And I was really worried then. Obviously, another reason why I love Robins, not only did we stop up, we finished bloody 11th in that league. So that's a great season from Robins.
Yeah. On to if you could relive one Rotherham match again, what would it be?
All the shot away, as I've already said. It wasn't just the result, it was the day. As I was saying, we were driving down. We didn't really want to go because we just thought we were going to get hammered. We'd been there a month earlier. We'd lost 3-0. It was diabolical. It's funny because a month earlier, there were 4 of us went down, me and 3 mates, and 2 of them didn't want to go again, which is fair enough. So me, my mate, and his dad, who went down. We got there for like 12:30 or 12:12. The game went till 5:30. We watched the cup final, which was Portsmouth. That's when Portsmouth won the FA Cup that day. And then went into the game. We kept it tight, and then the Fonda pops up with a last-minute winner. What a feeling that was.
Super. On to kits. What's your favourite ever Rotherham United kit? What we've worn?
I'm going to say the away one because I think all the home ones are quite similar. This kit here actually is, I really like this kit, but I'm not going to say it. I'm going to say one of the yellow ones that we've had. So I've got that yellow one that's got Hugo on the back. I'm going to go for that one. So it would be like, 3-4 years ago. It was just yellow and it was like a black tiger marks on it. I quite like that one. So I'll probably go for that one. I would choose this one if it were a bit older. But obviously it's brand new this year. So I'm not going to choose this one.
And the worst ever kit we've had?
The kit that I hated was that one in the 90s where it was like silver and black striped lines. I hated it. Do you know which one I mean?
Yeah, it had Parkgate on it, didn't it?
Yeah. I just hated that kit.
Match something as well.
Wasn't it? Yeah. I hated it. I think you could get it in the shop at one point, because the shop tend to ring out. Yeah. Oh, I just hated it. I really hated it. I also hated the grey kit we wore at Wembley. So do you know the Leyton Orient game? I hated that one as well. But that's our most successful away performance, I think, ever. So, yeah.
If you could give a message to the manager right now, what would it be?
Please resign. No, I'm not joking. Do you know what? What I would like to say to him is I'd like him to trust his own process. Because as I mentioned on the podcast, I don't feel he's playing the way he wants to feel. And that's why, I don't think we're playing the way he wants to play. And that's why we've not really got a style. Because I think all he's doing is giving instructions to players and motivating them, and that's it. So I would say, look, trust your own judgment. If you're going to get sacked, then get sacked by playing your way, not someone else's way. So that's the message that I'd like to give him.
Super. If you could go for a pint or a chat with the Rotherham United legend, who would it be?
Ooh, that's a good one. Who? I'm trying to think who would have the best. Gary Roberts. No, I'm joking.
Yeah.
It'd be fun though, wouldn't it, Gary Roberts? It's funny because another reason why I love Hoskins is because me and my mate once, and this is why Hoskins didn't do as well as he should have done. We once were going into the nightclub in town. It was called the Beach, or it changed so many times. We were going into there, and Hoskins was in front of us, and he was trying to get in on a Thursday. This as well. Bearing in mind, he had training next day, and I remember he was trying to give his money to a woman, and he was that pissed that he dropped his money, and he didn't realise he dropped it. And so he was trying to talk his way in, and he was saying, "I'm with Hoskins, I play for Rotherham, you should let me in," kind of thing. And his money went on the floor in front of him. He got in eventually, but he obviously had some drinking issues, and that's why he ended up not having the career he should have done for me.
Yeah. How do you think this season will finish?
Very hard to say. With the current manager, I think we're going to finish where we are now, roughly 15th, 14th, 13th, maybe. If the manager gets sacked and we bring the right manager in, I do think there's a chance we could get that top six. And it all depends on when this new manager comes in, if he ever does. Unfortunately, I think we will stick with Hampshire, though, so I'm going to have to say we're going to finish about below mid-table with Hampshire in charge.
If there's one thing you could change about the club now, what would it be?
Well, one thing that frustrated me was the ground attendance. When they built it, and they only built 12,000, I get why they did it. I wanted it to straight away 15 or 16, and then with the ability to go up to 20. Because let's face it, everyone knows that it's going to stay at 12,000 forever. It's never going to go up to 16 like it can do, because Stuart's not going to put the money in to do it. So I wish that our stadium held 15,000, because I believe that our attendance would match Barnsley's if it had a 15,000 seat stadium.
Sum Rotherham up in 3 words.
I'm not going to say what you said. Sum Rotherham up in 3 words. Ruled my life.
And now we're just going to do a quick fire before we go. So these are just quick fire. So Hampshire or Warren?
Warren.
Millmore, New York?
New York.
Booth or Stewart?
Stewart.
Home or away?
Away.
Win the FA Cup or win the Championship?
Oof. FA Cup, I think.
FA Cup.
That's hard, that one.
Nobody cares about it.
What would you say? Well, the reason it's FA Cup is because that's something you've got forever, I guess. But then again,
I'd say Championship, because then you're in Premier League.
I know. Yeah. Okay. I'll see the FA Cup. See the FA Cup.
Yeah, you're getting 2 there, aren't you? So I'd love to see Premier League, but I don't think we ever will. Thank you, Bez, for your time. You've been an absolute legend, mate. If any fans want to do this as well, if you send us a direct message, we're more than happy to have you on. Bez has been brilliant. If you think you can pick a better team than Bez has got, like I said, send a message in. We'll get you on. And Bez is confident that you're not going to get a better team than that.
This team gets Europe in Premier League, this team.
So thank you for watching. Please like, share and subscribe. And thank you again.
Thanks all. See